Okay. Lieutenant Colonel Francis E. Babe Hawke, and we're on our way to Europe. So we're at Mitchell Field. We picked up the new B-24L.
Yes,
Take it away.
And we took off from there and flew on up to Goose Bay, Labrador. And the next morning we were supposed to take off, and our landing gear wouldn't come up. So we had to turn around and go back and land, and they put it in a hangar and jacked it up and got the landing gear to work. And so
Not an auspicious beginning.
so we were able to take off the next day. But while there in the mess hall, I just happened to comment that Tucson, Arizona was never like this because the snow was up above the windows.
Oh, okay. Oh, so what? This was in December?
This was in November. And so a guy crossed me. He said, "You're from Tucson?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Did you go to the university?" I said, "Yeah." And he said, he said, "Well," he said, "I was a professor there." And I said, "What's your name?" And he says, "Joe Sachin." And I said, "Well, you were my boxing coach."
You didn't recognize him?
Oh no, he had a big mustache, and
really?
Everybody was wearing hoods inside the mess hall. That's how cold it was.
Okay.
And so the next day, since we couldn't take off, why, he invited me to his room. He was a permanent party there in Goose Bay, Labrador. So we had a nice long talk. And in fact, he set us up with skis to go fishing down actually at Goose Bay, at the bay itself. And I spent my whole time in a three position, 2 feet in my back end, going down this road to the bay. But we caught smelt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so, but the next day we actually took off.
Just as a digression, you boxed in college in what weight?
Well, my first year I was 128, and then the next year I went up to 135, and my last year 155.
And how many bouts did you have?
How many what?
How many fights did you have?
For each weight I had about four fights.
And what was your record?
Well, let's see. I was a 9-0.
9-0.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, just for the record.
Yeah.
You're undefeated.
Right.
You and Sugar Ray.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember after one fight, I took a girl to. The fight was during the day, and I took her to a movie. And coming out of the movie, she says, "You ought to look at yourself." And you know how they had these advertisements with the glass, and I went over, and this guy had hit me right in the nose, and I had 2 black eyes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like a raccoon.
But didn't know it when we went in because it hadn't did it. So, but here I came out, and here I had 2 black eyes. And this is when my mother learned that I had been fighting.
Oh, she didn't know.
She didn't know that fighting.
And you fight what, 3 rounds?
Yes, 3 rounds.
3 rounds. Okay, with headgear.
Yeah, with headgear and 16-ounce gloves. So you didn't hurt very many people, but you could get black eyes.
Yeah. Okay, so you've done your snow fishing, and you're off to where from Goose Bay?
Yeah, so we took off from Goose Bay, and I think it was it was December 4th. We flew from Goose Bay. This is 1944. Flew from Goose Bay to Valley RAF station in Wales, England. It was a 10-hour and 11-minute mission, all at night, all celestial navigation. And I was very proud because I hit my ETA and hit the field right on 00, as we called it.
Really?
And they were very, very proud of me. They were proud of me.
And relieved.
Yeah.
Well, there was a lot of darkness under that plane for a lot of hours.
And the flight engineer tried to transfer fuel from one fuel tank to another, and it caused an engine to cut out. So that was scary. But
now, were you flying in a group?
No, single aircraft. Yeah.
Okay.
But you would make up your flight plan in your log and everything, and you'd have two guys check it because your variations up there were 50 degrees. So if you plotted it backwards, you were 100 degrees off. So they really checked your work before you took off. And rightfully so, because some of them, because of that, they'd fly right down the middle of the Atlantic.
Yeah, and run out of gas.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Now, at this point, it's November 1944. The Germans are on the run. You know, it's D-Day's already taken place, right, and been successful. So your mindset at this point is, we're going to go finish this thing up. Is that
Yeah.
your mindset?
We're here. We're going to end it.
You're going to end
We're
it?
going to end it. Yeah.
Everybody can go home. We're here. We're going to end
Right,
this thing. Right? Okay.
It was a good time in England, except that when we took off to go to Africa, we had a drop in one of the engines. And so we had to turn the airplane back to get fixed. And they found out that somebody had pulled the P leads, which are the leads into the each engine. And of course they decided that was sabotage. So when we came back in after that, the flight engineer was dressed in Class A's, and he had a B-4 bag all packed, and he took off. He went to London to get married.
Oh, he'd met a girl?
Well, he had been stationed there before.
Oh, okay. This is one of the guys you picked up?
Yeah.
On the crew?
Yeah. And so when he came back to the base, why, they threw him in jail and court-martialed him.
Really?
6 years, yeah, in prison, yeah.
Boy.
He beat that though, in that after 6 months, why, he went back into combat, and they threw that all out.
Well, they needed.
Yeah, flight engineers.
Flight engineers. Yeah.
But
enjoy your honeymoon.
yeah, but that delayed us about almost 30 days.
Really?
And we all figured that may have saved our lives, because that was 30 days fewer missions. Because the war was,
30 for the investigation and everything?
yeah, we had to go to the court-martial. So while we were there and had some time off, well, we went to London. And that was an experience. We were watching a movie, and they had an air raid.
Oh, okay.
And of course, all these British people in the theater walked out very calmly, walked across the street, and went down into the subway. And just as soon as the air raid was over, why, we all came out of the subway and went back into the theater.
So you got a taste of what they had been going through all that time.
Yeah, oh yeah, and they were so calm that you just wondered, what was going on.
It had become routine.
Mm-hmm.
So you were there for 30 days for that. Now, were you all suspects at the beginning, but it was pretty clear fairly quickly who was responsible?
Yeah, it had to be somebody that knew the aircraft engine. I wouldn't have known what to do, and none of the other crew members, but the flight engineer, it was evidently him that did it. And he admitted it. He wanted to get married.
Yeah, but he had. Did he put you at risk by doing this?
No, because he wouldn't have let us take off because the drop on the engine was too great to take off.
Okay, so you never left the ground.
No, never left the ground.
And it was easily fixable. It was just a matter of plugging something in.
Yeah, there were wires. You know, the wires that go into a spark plug. Okay, there were two spark plugs on each cylinder, and they both had P leads. Well, he had pulled the P leads, so you had one cylinder that wasn't working.
So it wasn't really serious sabotage. He didn't destroy anything.
Oh no.
He didn't put anybody's life at risk. He just wanted a delay so he could go to London to get married.
Right. And he did.
And he did.
And he got court-martialed.
And he probably got an honorable discharge at the end of the day.
Pardon?
He probably got an honorable discharge at the end of the day.
Oh yeah, I think so. But our assistant engineer took off. His name was Hoogervorst.
The Hoogervorst?
So we went from a Jewish boy by the name of Donchen to Hoogervorst,
Dutch boy.
Dutch boy. And one of them was very short and stocky, and Hoogervorst was very tall and slim.
So you were just in London for 30 days kind of enjoying yourselves, nothing too much to do?
No, we only went down for the weekend, and it's the only time we got off base.
So did you continue to train during this time, or were you just kind of hanging out?
No, just kind of hanging out. In fact, we flew a couple of flights. We flew some people over to Ireland, a place called Langford Lodge, and landed on grass and let these people off, and we picked some people up and flew them back to the base. And then we did fly up to Scotland one time because McKenna grandparents were still living in Scotland. So we needed to fly the airplane to test it, so we flew up to Scotland, and he got to see his grandparents. In fact, I took him a bottle of scotch, and they hadn't seen scotch since '39 or
Really?
something like that. Yeah, they were very appreciative of that.
Now, were you concerned that your skills were going to erode during
Oh
this
no,
period because you weren't using
no. You're too well trained, too concentrated training. Yeah,
So your next
had confidence in what we had to do, and we had confidence in each other, which was the purpose of the combat crew training.
right.